Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. What on earth did we just watch last night on ABC, game one of the NBA Finals? This is just, it's absolute madness. Um, there's no other way to describe what's been going on. Uh, it's as simple as that. I was clearly wrong about the Thunder last night. I thought the Thunder were going to win that game by 15 or more points. I thought that the line was very telling, that it was 9.5. It actually moved up. It closed at 10. Well, it was like bouncing around 10 everywhere. But I took 9.5 on FanDuel and it closed at 10. And oh my God. Boy, oh boy, did I make the mistake of going to bed with 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Yeah. I guess that's one thing that this particular playoffs has shown us, that anything can happen in the current landscape of the NBA. There's been crazy comebacks all over the place in multiple different series. And the Indiana Pacers just continue to do it night in and night out, not only cover, but win outright as big underdogs. They have done it for the last month and a half routinely in every, any type of situation that you can think of. It's pretty insane. So I was trying to think about it this morning. In my lifetime of watching sports, so obviously, I've watched sports my entire life, but when you're a kid, like, you're watching, but you really don't know until, you start to get older and you can, actually think through things. So I'll say since like 2008, 2009, like, that's really the time that I've really been watching sports. And for the NBA in particular, I can't remember a playoff run like this other than the Dirk Nowitzki Dallas Mavericks. That's the only team I can comp this Indiana Pacers team to. We had the big three Celtics. We had the big three Miami Heat with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. The Spurs with Kawhi. And then we kind of entered into that realm where it was Cavs versus Warriors every year. Even when the Cavs came back from 3-1 down, even though that's never been done before in the NBA Finals, it's not the most shocking thing you've ever seen because they had the best player in the world in LeBron James at the time. It wasn't just a random team that was able to accomplish that. And then we had like a nice run from the Raptors to beat the Warriors. The Warriors got another one. The Celtics got one last year. The Denver Nuggets got one. But again, the Denver Nuggets had the best player in the world at the time in Nikola Jokic on their team. And they played like a lackluster Miami Heat team in the finals, I would say. There's not a single team that I can remember outperforming expectations to the degree of this Indiana Pacers team other than those Dirk Nowitzki Dallas Mavericks that upset the Miami Heat. And I'm not saying that the Pacers are going to win this series. I don't know what's going to happen. Even if they don't win this series, that doesn't take anything away from just how incredible they've been. I can't remember a run like this in recent times in the NBA. In the series against the Cavs, they were big underdogs every game, and they won the series 5-1. It wasn't like it went to 7 and they escaped. Like, they dominated that series as big underdogs in every game. In the closeout game, game 5, they were in Cleveland and they were 7.5-point underdogs, and they won the game by 7 points. Last night, game 1 of the NBA Finals, they're 10-point underdogs on the road. They win the game outright. It's unfathomable what this team has been able to do in this playoff run. It's insane. And I can't think of another. I don't know, like, I wasn't betting back then, so I don't know what the Vegas odds were for the Dallas Mavericks to win that series over the Miami Heat. I'm sure they were even larger than this, but the Pacers were 5-1 to win this series. The books were setting it. It was plus 290 for the Thunder to sweep and 5-1 for the Pacers to win the series. The books thought it was twice as more likely that the Thunder would sweep than the Pacers to win this series. And the Pacers came out and they're up 1-0. And you can see, I mean, the Thunder, they're 11-point favorites in game 2 on Sunday. I'm assuming they should win that one and get it to 1-1, but I don't think we can rule anything out at this moment in time. It's pretty crazy what's been going on. And the bounce back from Tyrese Halliburton to I don't know how they run those polls or whatever, but wherever they had the player voted poll that he was the most overrated player in the league, to do what he's done the second half of this season after that is just hilarious. Because I mean, you guys know, if I've streamed for quite a few years now. I actually was going back and look. I've been doing content since like 2017. So we're into like year 8 of me doing content, which is pretty crazy. I can't believe it. But you guys know I've been a big Halliburton fan since he got drafted. Like, I wanted the Cavs to take him out of Iowa State. Thought it was hilarious that the Kings traded him. What a letdown for the Kings, right? I mean, the Kings have gone from having De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton on their team to having neither of them on their team. They also passed on Luka Doncic in that stretch and took Marvin Bagley over him. Just a really rough run recently for the Sacramento Kings. But overall, I'm happy that Halliburton shined through here because I've been a big fan of his. I thought him getting voted most overrated was just hilarious. But wow, we have look, I was worried. You guys know, if you watched the stream yesterday, I said I thought it was going to be a 4-0 Thunder win, a 5-1 Thunder win. So maybe it's going to be a close. Maybe it's going to go 6-7 games. I would love that because, I'd prefer to watch a good series. So I'm happy that the Pacers won game 1, and hopefully we get some really good games here for the rest of the series. I want to look. So the Thunder, they went from -750. Now they're down to -330 to just win the series. If we look at the spread, the -2.5, that would be obviously them to win the rest of the games, win out here. Plus 290. Thunder to win in 6, basically -104. If you're looking to buy back in on the series, I think that would be the way to do it. Because I think the Thunder could win in 6. I do think that's still a feasible outcome. Interesting though, man. That was a good game. The Pacers just did what they've done the entire playoffs. They didn't get too low. They were down, but they just kept chipping away, and then all of a sudden it's the game never felt in reach for the Indiana Pacers at any point. And then all of a sudden there's 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You look up and it's like a 4-point game. It's really crazy how they just are never out of these games, no matter what the score is. As for the hockey side of things, the Oilers are slight favorites tonight in game 2 at home. They took game 1 in overtime. I'm not going to bet on a side of the game, but I do think Florida can take this and get it to 1-1. I think this is going to go 6 or 7. I still think the Oilers are going to win. I told you guys on Wednesday I was going to be betting the Oilers to win the series, and I bet that at -120, I think it was. They're -215 now. I think Florida can take this game and even it back up, going back to Florida. I think we're going to go 6 or 7 here, but I still think the Oilers, I think it's their year. I think it's McDavid's time, and they're going to hoist the cup ultimately in a few weeks here. We will look, obviously no stream on Sunday, but I'll definitely take a look at some props. I want to dive into the data and look because I was really interested in betting Halliburton unders yesterday. So you guys saw I posted the same game parlay. Obviously, it had no chance to win because I had the Thunder covering in it. But I had Halliburton under assists, and I also had Halliburton under points plus assists. And even though he hit the game-winning shot, he did go under both of those numbers. I think how the Thunder defend and their length can really create some issues in the passing lanes for Halliburton, and I think that they'll be able to take away a lot of his playmaking prowess. So I think the under assists will probably be a good look in the majority of these games. I would have to check and see how many potential assists he had, but I think he only finished with 6, and his line was 8.5, 9.5, depending on where you look. It's pretty juicy under 8.5 now for this game, but I still think that is something that you could look to take the under on. Same with the points plus assist. His line is 25.5. It was 26.5 yesterday, but now it's minus 122 under 25.5. I would be more inclined to take this than the minus 140 on those assists. But I think you can go right back to this. And look, the Pacers just won a game with him going under this number. So clearly they've proven, they don't need Halliburton to have these massive games for them to win. They just need to stay in the game. So Halliburton under points plus assists is probably going to be one of my favorite picks prop-wise for game 2. I thought it was interesting. So I thought personally that, if the Thunder were not quite starting games like they wanted to, they would go to starting Case and Wallace over Isaiah Hartenstein. I thought that was going to be maybe like a game 3, game 4 adjustment. They just came right out of the gate with it. They didn't even wait to see any game action. They just instantly started Case and Wallace over Hartenstein in game 1, which I thought was surprising. I mean, you guys saw, I bet Hartenstein first basket. I was not expecting them to go to the Case and Wallace starting lineup that quickly. So I think it's interesting, to kind of see. I'm assuming they'll stick with it and come right back with it. But that does present potentially maybe some value on Hartenstein props just because he's not starting. He's probably going to play a few less minutes. But he looked good off the bench. He almost doubled off the bench last night. So that's something I want to monitor going into game 2. I kind of thought it was a good matchup for him. So again, I'm pretty surprised they went to that Case and Wallace line right off the rip. And they were playing AJ Mitchell pretty early in that game. They clearly had some stuff that they identified that they weren't even waiting to make adjustments. They were just ripping it straight off in game 1. I thought that was really interesting from the Thunder. Hallie line on DraftKings moved to 24.5. Is that too low? No, I mean, I still like the under. It's just like I'd rather take 25.5 at minus 122. But if you only have access to DraftKings, then I guess that's kind of what you're stuck with. I would project him closer to like 20 in this spot personally. Yeah, for hockey though, I'm not betting a side of this game. I'm going to wait and see what happens. If Florida wins, I might buy back in again on the Oilers, depending on what this goes to. Like I said, I have a minus 120 on the Oilers. If Florida wins and it goes back to like even money, especially going back to Florida, I'll probably look to buy back in again on the Oilers. Maybe you could parlay them with, I think Alcaraz. I feel pretty confident. If it's Alcaraz Sinner in the final, I'd be a pretty big Alcaraz backer here in the French Open. So maybe some parlay. Like, again, if Florida wins tonight and we get this line back closer to even, maybe you could parlay those two together or something. But I'll be looking to parlay if the French Open Finals Alcaraz Sinner, I'll be looking to parlay Alcaraz with a bunch of stuff, maybe some U.S. Open stuff, because we're gonna have obviously a lot of bets flowing for the U.S. Open with me being boots on the ground there next weekend. As for baseball tonight, there's one spot that I identified that I really like, and it's the Houston Astros. They're on the road in Cleveland. I just have not been a big believer in Logan Allen this season. Thought he would have a better season coming in, and he has not. His numbers are pretty bad. 4.56 expected ERA for Logan Allen this season. 17% strikeout rate is not good. 11% walk rate is really bad. And I really don't understand it. So his most used pitch is his sweeper. which is pretty good. He's giving up a 188 expected batting average with it. Doesn't get a ton of whiffs, but it gets enough. It's not a bad pitch. His fastball is just terrible, though. He's given up 333 batting average with that, and then the changeup is not much better. So he's really just relying super heavily on this sweeper, and his underlying numbers are pretty bad. So I'm a little bit interested in Houston as slight favorites here. I think you could take him first 5 or full game. Potential spot for the Braves. So the Braves have kind of been in a weird spot. I mean, they just choked. I think that was yesterday. They choked that big lead. Bullpen just completely blew up. But I haven't yet to figure out Hayden Birdsong. I have him on my FSGA team that we look at on here. His numbers are good, 2.37 ERA, 25% strikeout rate, but the expected ERA is a full run higher than his actual, so he's going to have a bad start. I'm pretty confident in that. He's going to have a bad start at some point. Obviously, good pitching park tonight, but I might be willing to buy into the Braves tonight, especially with Schwellenbach on the mound. So Braves are looking like a potential spot for me. Houston, definitely a spot for me tonight. Is there anything else that sticks out? Patrick Corbin revenge game against the Washington Nationals. You could definitely sign me up for that. We've talked about him quite a bit on the stream this year about his, pitch mix changes he's made. He hasn't been quite as bad. Mike Soroka's not been as bad as he's pitched either. 5.81 ERA, 3.45 expected. Doesn't have big strikeout stuff, but I don't think he's pitched that bad. The total on this is 9. I want to see what that first 5 total is. 4.5, I'm assuming. 5.5. I mean, it's pretty juicy, but you could interest me maybe there. I would need to think about that one a little bit, but just something, food for thought. I think those pitchers are a little bit undervalued. Maybe there's good weather, though. I don't know. I'd have to check that. I definitely like Houston, though, and I definitely like the Atlanta Braves. There should be runs scored in this. Orioles A's in that smaller ballpark. JP Sears has really struggled at times this season. 5.05 ERA, 4.33 expected. Same thing for Dean Creamer, like pretty bad surface numbers, not quite as bad underlying, but not someone that you're like scared of targeting. Maybe better game for props than 10.5 is a lot of runs. So maybe a better game for props. Bryce Miller has really struggled. 5.36 ERA, 4.70 expected. 11% walk rate. So Bryce Miller, his rookie season, 4.8% walk rate, went up to 6% last year. This year it's up to 11. And that's probably where he's running into a lot of trouble. Kyle Hendricks has been pretty average as well. I guess no real side that I like in that one. Rahan, what's up? Halliburton is that guy. He is. I've always been a Halliburton defender, so I'm happy that these people that act like he isn't good have to eat their words. Honestly, like if you just ask me, I'm probably rooting for the Pacers in this series. Like to be quite honest with you, I know Frosty, if you're in here, I know you don't want to hear that because you're a big Thunder fan, but if you just asked me a team that I was rooting for, I would probably pick the Pacers. Also, not sure if you guys missed it yesterday. We kind of mentioned it in passing on Wednesday, but I will be launching season long. So I think if you guys have followed me for a long time, you remember I used to do these. It's been probably 2 years since I've done one, but I will be launching an NFL season long. If you play fantasy football draft kit here on Rolling Insights, it'll be available for free, 100% free draft kit. You don't have to pay anything. You'll just have to have a free account on the website, rollinginsights.com. So If you don't already have an account there, make sure you go sign up for that. But it'll be free for the draft kit. We'll talk about it more in the coming weeks of what's going to be in it, but there's going to be tons of good stuff. Obviously, my big, draft article of how I'm drafting all my teams, that'll be in the draft kit as well as a bunch of other stuff. So rankings and tiers, bunch of good stuff. I'm really excited for season long this year. I think there's some spots that I'm going to be very, very interested in, some spots I'm going to be higher than the field on, and I'm pretty excited for that. So if you guys are already getting set into the fantasy football mode, I will have a free draft kit, rollinginsights.com, coming this summer. Thunder rely on SGA too much. I do agree with that at times. They're such a good team. Like, they don't need to either. They're such a good team top to bottom. I do think they fall in the trap of just kind of standing and watching him when it's a close game late. The Pacers typically don't. The Pacers move the ball, but the Pacers just play a fun style of basketball. They defend, like, they compete so well defensively. I wouldn't say they're as good defensively as the Thunder just individually, but as a team, they play such good team defense. And when they get out and they're able to run, they're very fun to watch. So I completely agree. I think the Pacers are very fun to watch. But overall, kind of a quicker stream today. I'll be back Monday. We'll have a normal full week of streams next week. Maybe I'll go live Sunday for the finals. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. There's potential for a Sunday stream, but don't hold me to it. We'll see. But if not, we'll be back Monday. Stay tuned to my Twitter this weekend. I'll be posting some bets. And then next week, we'll have finals and Stanley Cup to talk about, but we're going to be talking US Open heavily next week, especially with me, attending that. So some big streams coming next week. Stay tuned for that. Draft kit coming. Stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Good luck with your bets tonight. DFS, fantasy sports, all that good stuff. And I will be seeing you guys all later on.